Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today is going to be part 4 of the trying to fix the Sony Walkman series. So the background is I ordered 8 of these as a job lot, and one by one I'm going through them trying to fix them. Now they each work out to be £5.36 each, so I didn't pay a lot of money for them, but they're all broken. So the first 3 that I did, I'm not going to tell you whether I did or didn't fix them or not, but they had a variety of faults, so in my opinion they were certainly interesting ones. This one here, it seems to be a different fault again. I don't know whether it's going to be easy or hard. I don't know whether it's going to be a quick video or a long video, but still it's faulty and I'm going to do my best to fix it. Now this particular one is from 1991. That's the model number there, FX10. And if you have a look at the bottom here, you can see it. So let me just show you around it. It looks like quite a nice one. Good thing about this is it's got a radio built in as well. So it doesn't just play tapes, it also has a radio. So we've got FM and AM, and we can tune it via this little wheel up the top here. You can see it moving along. So we've got a volume here, we've got the bands AM and FM, and we've got tape and radio. So obviously when it's on tape the radio's off. We've got a headphone jack. Here we've got a DC inlet, so we don't have to use batteries, 3 volts in, and it looks like the outer one there is the positive and the inner pin is the negative. We've got obviously stop and play and fast forward and rewind, and here we have a switch depending what it will do. If it's on tape it's going to do a normal tape or a metal tape, and if we're on radio it's going to do FM. That looks like it must be stereo and mono. And at the back here we have a belt clip, and this is where we pop our batteries in. It takes 2 AA's, and if you look here we've got a hole, and this must be to adjust the speed of it. Now also it looks like there's 3 holes up here. I'm not sure, I haven't come across them before in this series so far. Maybe there's something to do with the radio, maybe you can adjust something on the radio. So now memory serves me right, I think with this one here the radio works and the tape works, but I think when the tape works it does a lot of clicking. So let's just verify that. Battery contacts look nice and clean as far as this one here, because that's the only one I can see. But it's definitely got power in it. So let's turn on the speaker. Got a little speaker over here. Right, so let's go to radio to begin with and put some volume on. That's not doing anything now, hold on. Have I got these batteries in right? There. It's weird, I've got no power here at all. When I tested this before it was definitely clicking. Deary me, nearly gave me a heart attack. Right, don't quite know what was going on there. Obviously it was a bad contact in here. Right, okay, let's put a bit of volume on. So we're on AM at the moment. Now remember I'm inside, so I might not be able to get a very good signal.
The guy started off at the same time and the other guy beat him. Got in just before him. He's just back. He talks about what it was like.
Right, okay, so AM's definitely working. Let's go to FM. I think it is working. I think it's just because I'm inside that I'm finding it hard to get a station. Also, a bit of a downfall off it is that tiny movements move this a lot, so it's very hard to actually get it perfectly tuned in. There you go. Okay, better turn that off before I get a strike. So now if we go to tape, and oh actually, just quickly go back to radio. I just want to see this one here. Oh, it does sound different. Yeah. There we go. Right, okay, that sounded like Footloose. Let's plug this tape in and then I'll show you the problem. So now we're on tape, so it's working. But it sounds a little bit odd. Let me go on to the other side. Sometimes it seems to be kind of like as if the power's coming and going. But as well as that, I'm going to turn the volume down, you can hear it clicking.
really have the time. Oh, I understand that, Trula. I'll make the time. But Chris, who would you expect to buy
But to be fair, that does sound okay, but if you listen to the clicking. So that's not normal. And then it's noisier there. So there's definitely something, sounds like one of the cogs or something is loose. Yeah. So as far as I can see, that's the only problem with it. It seems to rewind, fast forward.
But I'm a bit of a fan. Good luck, dear. Oh, is that a problem?
There you go.
I do know about your association.
See, it's slow.
I can't bring myself to think that it was even a friendship. Well, just say if you don't feel you can put up with him hanging.
So I think by moving it around, it seems to be, the speed seems to change, but as well as that, it's the clicking. Now, if it was just a speed change, I might think it was a loose belt, but because it's the clicking, I'm thinking maybe it's something to do with one of the cogs in there, you know, one of the gears or something. But we're not going to know until we take it apart. Now, looking around the place on Sony, I've been told, and they're quite right, that in certain places they let you know where the tabs are to loosen, because there's no screws on here. But if you have a look here, there's a little tab here, so it looks like I can put something in there to loosen it up, and also there's one here and one at the back here. They kind of give you little arrows as indicators of where to snap it apart. So like normal, I'm going to start by the battery compartment, because it means I can get my tool underneath it, like so. Right, and let me now open it up. Let me see if I can put a bit of pressure on here. On all the other ones I've done, I always seem to break a little bit when I take it apart, and I think it's going to be exactly the same on this one as well. There doesn't seem to be enough arrows to show you where every single one of the connections are. I might be lucky on this one, you never know. So now in this one, there's definitely an arrow down here, so let's see if I can somehow loosen it. There we go, I did it. Excellent, yeah, that did loosen there. See if there's any more markings on the inside. Not that I can see. Okay, well, I don't think I broke anything that time. Oh, I might have done here. Yeah, something snapped there, isn't it? Unless it looks very white, I don't know. Yeah, there you go, broken tab there. Right, okay. That's not too bad though. Right, so something's wobbling in here. It looks like there's a lot of grease on this bit here. So this has got the auto stop feature again. This one looks very similar to, I can't remember if it was the second one. I think the second one I did. Oh, look at all the radios. So let's have a look now at these holes at the back, see what they correspond to. So we've got the hole down here, which I think is for the speed, and it looks like it is, because look, we have the capacitor and then this potentiometer next to the motor here. So that's going to be, I think it's a potentiometer, I'm not sure, but you turn it to adjust the speed. Hopefully I won't need to touch that. And then this hole here lines up, looks to be lining up with this one here. This one seems to be these two screws here. So again, I'm not going to mess around with them, they must be to do with different frequencies. I'm hoping that they're all going to be set correctly. What I have to do is find out why. Well, what I'll do is I'll put batteries in it now. Let's zoom right in, put batteries in, and then we can hear better where the noise is coming from. But when I do that, it still makes a noise. When I tap this one, it stops. Just going to put it up to my ear, see if I can hear it. No, I can't. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, because it could be the motor, couldn't it? So I'm going to stop it. I'm going to take the band off the motor, take it off completely, and now play it again. So it's still making a noise. So that means it's the motor, doesn't it? Because nothing else is moving. Right, now, if the motor is making a noise, maybe the motor's about to give up. Right, that would be a shame. There's a couple of little Phillips here. Let me just see if it's become loose. No. No. So it sounds like that noise is coming from the motor, and I don't have a spare motor at this time. I mean, maybe one of the other Walkmans is faulty that might have the same motor. Yeah, listen. Okay, but it could be because maybe there's something slightly broken somewhere in the housing here and it's causing it to vibrate and make that noise. But yeah, first impressions, I'm not overly hopeful. But maybe you can get these motors relatively cheaply. I've just got to be careful because although these are old, I mean this is now 1991, so you're looking at something that could be 28 years old. But it still doesn't mean they're really worth much money. So for example, if the motor was a few pound, it'd be worth doing it, but if this motor costs £20, it really wouldn't be worth doing it. But anyway, let's not think about that just yet. Let's try to verify why it's making the noise. Look at that, it comes out really easy. So this reminds me of the one with the broken board. The first one I did. Now that was in very loose, but that's not gonna affect anything. This ribbon cable here. Not 100% sure how that goes in. I'm going to try to put this cover on while the cable's in here. Yeah, there we go, that's certainly a better connection now. Right, okay, I'm just going to make sure that it is definitely playing now that I've been messing around with that. Yeah, I can hear the motor making a noise still. Yep. Right, so that ribbon cable, obviously it had nothing to do with it because it wasn't attached to the motor, that's just for these mechanisms here. But still, just wanted to know why it was loose. Well, I can't find anything wrong with this motor. I'm just going to undo it just to see. Yeah, all the gears themselves sound nice and quiet. Can't hear that at all. Right, so it's this motor here. In fact, even when I spin it like this, I can feel the vibrations in it, and I can also hear it as well. Let me put it up to the camera. Yeah, it doesn't sound great. Right, let me apply power again. I'm going to move it around the place. As far as I know, I'm not really going to be able to do anything with this. I still don't know whether you can oil motors or not. I would think not, because the oil could get onto the you know, those the brushes or whatever they're called. Right, so we've got this around it, which is unusual. It's like a big coil, like a big coil of steel. Is that just to pack it out? Maybe. Right, I'm going to apply power and move it around the place. Yeah, it's worn. It doesn't look rusty or anything. If it was rusty, then maybe it could be clean, but I'm wondering if it's just the bearings worn in there. If I could get a replacement one, it'd be no bother, because all I'd have to do would be unsolder those two. Yeah, I suppose to get into it I'd probably have to drill out these bits of plastic here, and then it would come apart, but then I'm going to struggle to get it back together again. And again, if the bearings are gone, there's not really much I can do. It would be interesting to have a look in there though, wouldn't it? I think what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to find out if you can do anything with a motor. For example, add WD-40 in there, or oil, or something like that, just to see. And then I'll see if you can actually buy these motors or not. I mean, I don't know whether that marking on there indicates what motor it is. 93 125C. Not sure. BDBB. Right, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, well, I've looked into it, and bad news. I've looked on eBay and I can't find them. Now, obviously, somewhere in the world you probably will be able to get them, but if they're not available on eBay for a few pounds, then it's not worth me doing anything with this. So what I will do is I will put some oil in, because somebody did say you can use watch oil to oil the spindle, but obviously I can't put anything into these holes. That's annoying, that wire's come off. I have to solder that. I can't put anything into these holes here, because if you think about it, this is where the magnet is around the edge, so the bearings are not going to be there anyway. But they did say that you can oil the spindle. Annoyingly, there's no spindle on this side, there's just a spindle on this side here, and it's going to be hard to get to because this little pulley's in the way. Let me zoom right in and show you. So if you have a look there, what I'm going to have to try to do is put a bit of oil onto maybe a small screwdriver and just try to drop it in there, but I don't know if much is going to get in there. Also, well, they've both come off now, the wires. Right, also, if you look here, it's like plastic. So what happens is the contacts go onto here, this one's going to be linked to here, and then there's going to be like two kind of, just call them probes, that stick out from here, and then they're going to go round onto the spindle of the motor, and that's how it's going to give it power. So it could well be worn down the bottom here, where the basically the spindle goes into this bit here. If I wobble it, I can definitely feel. I mean, you won't be able to hear it or see it. I don't think you'd be able to hear it anyway. Let me put it up to the microphone. No, you're not going to be able to hear that. But I can feel it with my hand, and I know when it comes to cars, when the wheels rock, and they're not supposed to, often it means is that either wearing a ball joint or wearing the bearings. And I think in this instance here, I've got a feeling the motors got worn, possibly in the bearings, or maybe where this spindle goes into this bit here. If there's a little bit of play, it's going to cause vibration, and I think that's exactly what's happened here. So really, there's not much point in me wasting a lot of time on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put oil into it, Just in case it is that the bearings have dried up a bit, it is possible, you know, this might not have been used in the past 20 years, and that might make it work. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, there's no point in me cleaning up anything else because it's not going to do its job properly anyway. But what I can do is, remember, I have got another 4 of these to look at, and maybe one of the other ones might be unfixable because there might be something wrong with one of the chips or something on the board that I can't fix, in which case then I might be able to take the motor from that, because as far as I can see everything else is working nice, because when I spin that, that feels lovely and smooth and quiet. So I think the rest of it is going to be absolutely fine. And then in the future, if I do come across a motor somewhere, I can buy it, pop it in here, and then this definitely will be a working Walkman. But for the moment, I'm just going to put some oil in here and see how we go. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. Solder those wires back on and then see if there's any quieter. I mean, it's going to be a lot different than when I'm just spinning it with my finger here than when you're applying voltage to it. I think it feels smoother than it did, but I can still feel it rattling. In fact, look, you can see it's rattling a lot to and fro there. I don't know how much movement's normally on these. Maybe not as much as that, I'm not sure. Let's solder it back on and see what happens. Okay, so that's the motor screwed back into place and also soldered on as well. So I'm just going to temporarily put the batteries in just to see what it sounds like. See if it's any bit smoother. I think that might be smoother. That's definitely smoother. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to listen back to the video, but that sounds normal now. Excellent. Right, okay, I'm going to put it all back together and then see if it's made a difference. Actually, I'm that confident that it's smoother. I mean, it might not be when the rubber band goes on, but actually, before putting it back together, because I do have to put grease and stuff around here, I'm going to put the rubber band on, because maybe when we put the rubber band on, it will then affect it. You know, it might put more pressure on this spindle. Right, the spindle's just spinning because we've got oil everywhere, so I'm going to have to get some IPA and clean out the grooves. Right, while I'm here, I'm just going to clean up everything, and then I'm going to clean up also the tape head and the pinch roller. Going to get rid of some of the old grease. This is the grease that I'm going to be using. I'm just going to give this a good wash with some warm water. Yes, lovely and quiet now. Yeah, it's completely different than before. Right, okay, I'm going to put it fully back together and then to do the testing I'm going to have to take it to another room because unfortunately it's quite late now and everybody in this house has gone to bed. Okay, so I'm in the other room now so I can make more noise in here. So let's pop the batteries in, put the tape in and see what it sounds like. God, that sounds awful. Right, so it's really slow. That belt's slipping. It could be because of the oil, but I did clean most of that up. Or maybe it did feel very loose when it was going on. Maybe the belt's just slipping. I'll tell you what, let me see if that noise has gone away. No, it's still there, isn't it? I can also feel it vibrating a tiny little bit. See, look, it's lovely and quiet now and it's like that. But then the noise comes back. It's definitely a lot better than it was though. Oh, I don't know whether to waste any more time on it. See, if it was just a dry bearing, then putting a bit of oil in there would have fixed it. But if it's a worn bearing or a worn spindle in the motor, where, for example, the spindle goes into the, the end bit, if there might not be a bearing there, it might be somewhere else. If it goes into plastic or something, well, if it's worn, it's going to vibrate, and it is always going to vibrate. But I think it definitely sounds better than before. So I think rather than just giving up on it, I'm going to put a new belt in here, because that one felt very loose when I was putting it on. It didn't feel, it kind of just flopped onto it. It didn't feel any bit tight. So I'm not going to film it. I'm just going to change the belt over and then see if that makes a difference. I know 100% the motor is not good, but I'm wondering whether with a new belt it might be okay. I just, for peace of mind really, I know the motor's still noisy. I just want to see if it can at least play the songs at a normal level. Just to see if oiling that motor did make any difference or not. So next time you see this, it will have a new belt in it. I'm just going to do a quick test of it now before I do clip it back together. That's much better. It seems to be holding its own. Just going to see if the stop thing works on the other side. When it comes to the end of the tape, see if it will stop. Yeah, it does. Excellent. And it's rewinding a lot quicker as well. Maybe this is going to be okay after all.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. Oh, go on, have another piece of toast. I'll let you.
Oh, what a good team. You and me.
You always used to be.
Remember how we agonised over going all go?
We agonise over everything.
Yeah, but when we first started, it wasn't really me, you know.
That sounds okay. That clicking is just because it's not screwed back together, I think.
Thought I was giving in to the little woman.
Tony Archer.
Joe.
Do you know what? I think this might be okay. Right, I'm going to fully put it back together now and then give it a proper test. I was about to give up on it, but it looks like the band was the... obviously it was the motor, but that second time now it looks like it was the band. Okay, so it's all back together now. Here we go. That certainly sounds okay through there. I'm just going to check out the headphones, make sure they're coming out of both ears. Yeah, this one hasn't got that AVLS, you know, the thing that limits the volume. So that's one of them. That's the other one. Right, so that's definitely working there. Right, let me check out this side here, make sure it plays both ways.
What do you think? Are my proposals worth considering?
That's just a bit of the tape that's mucked up.
The system.
Greedy guts. Don't think it's going to go on forever.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Now, apparently when you change the belts, you should then do your tape calibration, you know, like I did in episode number 2. But I've listened to that bit of the tape so much, and to me, that sounds fine. Now, it might be slightly out, but I think it's going to be okay. That's why I'm not going to do that test in this one here, because to me, it sounds perfect. Right, I'm just going to see if it does the auto stop. So, rewind it. Yeah, there we go, so that's working. So now let's check out the radio. Right, okay, that's AM. No, sorry, that's FM. That's stereo. And mono. I'm just going to put in my headphones for this, just see if I can hear a difference. Yeah, 100%. That definitely sounds different between stereo and mono. And what do we have to do now? AM.
I suppose that's to Parliament then.
Yeah. That would run close, including that definition if she
Right, there we
was
go.
to do that. Basically,
I have to hold it up to get it to work, but that's fair enough.
But she just has to.
Right, so that is everything. So the last thing is to put it onto tape, press play, and then just switch between normal and chrome. Yeah, which is not going to make a difference because it's not a chrome tape. So I actually think that's working okay. I mean, listen to it. Let's put the volume off. Before, it was really clicking, and now listen. Oh, I can hear it a bit there. Listen. Yeah, in that position I can hear it. Yeah, I can definitely hear that now. But I don't think you would hear that with the music actually on. I don't think that would be distracting. So it's definitely not perfect. But we know it's not perfect because there's wear in the motor. And even adding oil into it, there's still going to be wear into the motor. But I think there's a possibility the bearings are just dry, isn't there? If it hasn't been used in years, if this hasn't been used in the last 20 years, it is possible that those bearings are completely dry. So, you know, I'll be honest with you, yes, it's working much better than it was before, but I'm not 100% convinced on this one, because maybe if you were to listen to it for a few hours, you might find that that remaining oil might come out, and then maybe the bearings would go dry again if the tolerances have now got bigger and there's more movement in the spindle that goes through it. But compared to what it was, it's definitely better, and it is definitely usable now. So I think this one here, yes, it's working, but I think there's wear in the motor, and the wear in the motor is not going to go away. If I do another one that I can't fix, I will happily swap the motor in it, and then as far as I'm concerned, it's a perfect Walkman. Right now it's not a perfect Walkman, but it seems to be kind of 90% perfect. But maybe when you keep using it over and over again, it might get just as bad as it was before. But obviously for the purpose of this video, I can't do that. So we're just going to have to keep our eye on this one and see how it goes. But right now, I am treating that as a success, because earlier on it was really, really noisy, and when you moved it around the place it was moving all over the place, probably because of the belt, and the noise was from the motor. The belt's now sorted and the motor is better than it was, but it's still not perfect. But for me, I'm still going to call that a fix, because because I feel better when I think that something's fixed. Right, okay, so yeah, that is the fourth one, so I've got 3 more to do of these. So if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care, bye now.